Morning, good morning, good morning.
Can you make a note of that, Beena?
Oh, yes.
Well, or we can, unless it's pertinent, and we can share it while we wait for Sue. I don't know what you were going to say.
It was not, but definitely I'd share it because Robin might get a
Please,
present.
but
Present.
all right. Go ahead. Let's hear what Beena's sharing. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
It is about Frauke's drawing, neurocreative drawing. The way it is. So yesterday, when I was watching some videos on YouTube, I saw that the realistic art, especially the eye, when they were drawing that cornea and the details inside the lens and everything, it was like very tiny, but it is actually a neurocreative drawing. The way it has to be connected and rounded and smooth inside that, the whole cornea drawing was based on that. And I was like,
Interesting.
wow, interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is just what I was sharing. Robin,
Oh, I see.
actually, I'm doing some drawing sessions with Frauke. So
Uh-huh.
this is what we're discussing when you came.
Yeah, Venus using it in a slightly different way
Yes.
is part of her own moreness, sharing, connecting to herself. So, if you have been maybe just show what we're talking about, because I don't think Robin's seen any of the drawings. I
Uh,
don't think we particularly
Morning,
shared
guys.
this with Robin.
Good morning.
Morning, Rob. Morning, Sue. Morning, Sue.
How are you?
Hello, hello, hello. Ah, very good. How about you, Sue? How about you? How are you?
Hey, no complaints. No
You
complaints.
sleep well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I just noticed that, sleep seems to be a bit disrupted for most. Just about everybody said, over the season now, sleep hasn't been so good. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Last
I
month, the month before, it was for me, but now it's right on track. I
it's
feel
getting
good.
better. Okay, good,
Yeah.
good, good. Oh, there's hope then. Yeah, yeah.
Mine too. You
Yeah.
know, it always
Good,
seems to happen before
good.
everybody. Anything that goes on seems to happen before it happens to
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Very good, very good. All right, all right. Very cool. So, all right, Robin, where we were yesterday. I said I wanted to go over your dictionary of power for the sessions we've been doing um, um, from module 8. I think I said sessions 1 and 2, but it's actually 1, 2, and 3 because we're on session 3 now. So
Yeah, I was only able to get so far because I'm about one, two, three, like 4 pages in. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, I just want to get into the habit of reviewing your dictionary of power at the end of each session for what we covered in that session, you see, so that there's that connectivity. But now that we're catching up a little bit, that's fine too. Plus, in the fourth session, there's a big task, which is going over the whole program and then also going over your dictionary of power. So that's a big deal. It's a big recap review. So I just wanted to catch you up a bit so that when you go back, then the review won't be so extensive. But again, on some of them, you will have to do it a bit more in detail. But then you can just combine it with the task of going over the whole program again. Yeah, and going over your notes and tightening your notes, condensing them, extracting the value, getting your notes to where you can use them. This is what the dictionary of power is about. It is getting your notes into a space, a format, a way that you can use them. And also, the dictionary of power are all the entries in your dictionary of power, all of those conceptions. They are the building blocks, the foundation of your self-conception as a spirit warrior, right? So, what is a spirit warrior? Somebody say, well, what is a spirit warrior? You want to give them some definition that just in general, it's that you will say to them, I don't know what a spirit warrior necessarily may be for everyone, but I can tell you what a spirit warrior means to me. And then you can read to them all the entries in your dictionary of power. And you said, this is me as a spirit warrior. This is what being a spirit warrior is for me, right?
well, the way I
All of
had
us are
done
different.
it was I went through each slide and extracted what stood out
Excellent,
for me
excellent, excellent.
along with whatever I had written as we had gone
Okay.
over it. So
Ah,
that's
okay. So now that's the general notes. That's your takeaway. right? So now you want to take those takeaways and condense it, put it into a fractal conception that is a tight conception that's got everything packed and jammed into it like a seed. So that when you look at that conception, that power term, you can extrapolate everything else, that you can water that seed with the water of attention and figuring it out and logical flow. And once you start paying attention to that conception, all the rest comes. And now that rest is what everything was in your notes, right? So that's why they're called power terms, because they have all of that moreness packed into them like seeds, right? So that you don't have to remember all your notes. All that has to be inside you is that power conception. And because it adds to your vocabulary, you don't need to remember it, because vocabulary, just through its very nature, comes up in us as appropriate, right? Once we know a word, really, really know it, when it's appropriate, that word comes to you, right?
Mhm.
So we are making our learning to be in learning way of impeccability, learning our character, what we want to apply. We are combining it with this innate mechanism of language that automatically pulls up moreness from inside of us, right? So it's a very, very subtle and inadvertent mechanism for you being able to access the moreness of what you know. The key to it is first to come to a detailed understanding. That's what you're writing out in the takeaway. This is what's useful to me. This is what's valuable. This is how I understand it. This is why I understand it. All the connections. Then you take all of that and you package it into the power terms as appropriate, as relevant, right? The power terms are the tags that allow you to access all of that. Because whenever we use a word like impeccability, we know what we mean if we understand it, right? So we say impeccability, but we mean a whole lot more because it's a compound, complex term, right?
Well, I kind of, the way, I mean, I didn't expand on them because, well, I didn't
That's
have the
okay.
chance
That's
to,
okay. The
but I kind of did
definitions
it the
is
way
a,
Sue, I
yeah.
kind of did it the way Sue, when I had seen hers, where I just kind of, I listed everything
That's
because,
exactly what I'm saying.
okay.
In Sue, she's got the term and then the definition, right?
Mhm.
But it doesn't matter necessarily if you add the definitions. That will come later. It's very useful and valuable, but you don't need to do it. The key is if you put in impeccability into your dictionary of power, know what it means. So if somebody comes and say, well, what do you mean by impeccability? You can tell them what you mean by it and what impeccability means to you. This is key. So it's not a hollow and an empty word. You don't have to write down that extra, but you do have to know it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's just a way of accessing lots of information in one single go,
Mhm.
right? So every time you use the word impeccability, a whole lot more is associated with it, right?
Mhm.
Means best use of energy, due respect. It's about doing what's right for you according to your conscience, not what's right itself. It's about fortuitous mistakes. It's about discipline, thoroughness, diligence, all of this stuff, right? So a lot more that automatically comes with it. How cool is that? So
Mhm.
it's a way to shortcut our memory. We don't have to remember a whole bunch of stuff which we can't do. We package it and we only do that. We use that term. It's abstract conceptions, in other words. It's how our language is really. We don't have like chair. We don't have, when we say chair, we know what we mean, something that you sit on. But a chair can be a stool, it can be a lounger, it can be all sorts of stuff, right? So, there's an understanding of what it means. We don't necessarily say, that chair over there specifically, and that chair, give it a name or whatever. We don't do that because it makes life complicated. So all of language is about aggregating understanding, packaging it into a word so that we almost always mean more than what we say. But it's very, very, very important. And this is why there are power terms. You are connecting to the deep, full thought through to the end understandings of what these power terms mean to you. Because it's Robin's Dictionary of Power. Make sure to put that on top of your heading there in your file name. Like when you look at Sue's thing, it says Sue's Dictionary of Power, right? Or Beena's Dictionary of Power. Very, very, very important. It's Robin's Dictionary of Power.
Mhm.
So each power term, you need to know what it means to you. And what it means to you is what you've talked about in your notes, what you've expanded on in your takeaways, what we discuss here in Zoom, how you come to connect to it and understand it. This is what it means to me. And you need to go all the way through to that so that it's finished and it's not vague and undecided. It's clear. You know exactly what it means. If you know really deeply and thoroughly what it means, then you can use it. If it's vague and nebulous, you can't really use it, right?
Well, I have here where I did as much as I could through module 8, which is through session 1 and most of session 2. But
Excellent.
over the
Excellent.
weekend, I had also just started, I had done one without going through anything. I just started
Fine,
writing
no
down
problem.
everything that we've been talking about, and I could see that it's actually, some is the same, but what I had done on my own was actually even more than what I had done for the session. So that's really interesting.
Excellent. So when you put it onto the computer at some point, you'll just type it all in and you can put it on a spreadsheet, right? Where you put the power term in one column and you put the definitions in the second column. Then you sort according to the first column. Then you'll have duplicates, right? Then you take the definition of the second, with the duplicate, and you add it to the first one on the list, and then you keep adding the definitions to the first one's definition, or those understandings, those expanded understanding, and you eliminate the duplicates, so that you have multiple understandings, all associated with just the power term. And then you eliminate the duplicates, but you don't lose the meanings and the definitions and the understanding. And this is very powerful, very, very powerful, very, very, very powerful. That's why it's called the dictionary of power. It makes a massive difference because you want to use your power terms. The more you use them in your language, you automatically start applying them. Why? Because one, you know what they mean, and you've thought it through to the end. It's in there because it is innately sensible to you. You figured it out. There's value, there's power, there's usefulness in using these power terms, in what they mean. You apply them in your life automatically when you use them. Why? Because you're honest. You can't use these concepts and terms as your own without applying them in some way. So you leverage your own self-honesty to make those things a reality in yourself simply by putting them in your language. Because of course, too, there's an intent to use them. Now you provide the means and the mechanism for that to come through. And of course, the more you work on your dictionary of power, the more you understand it, the more it goes innate, the more you take it inside, and the more you come to be your dictionary of power. Because these are all the core foundation stones of your self-conception as a spirit warrior. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very exciting. All right. Let's hear what you got. Let's hear.
Well, where do you want me to do the module 8, or do you want me to just start from the beginning? The other list. I have, because I have 2 lists here.
Oh, we can start going through your dictionary of power from the very beginning if you want to. Sure.
Because this is the one that I had done over the weekend, and I started with impeccability.
All right. Cool.
Calm. Application. Self-leverage. Persistence. Way of being. Sobriety. Limitlessness. Moreness. Be more. Allowance. Appreciation. Accountability. Divine beingness. Awareness of more. Connectability. At peace. Then I had my little arrows. Pause, zoom out, patience, persistence, practice, application, self-beingness, appreciation, choice, to choose, self-awareness, application, impeccability, what feels right to me, is, divine spirit, spirit warrior, living as, apply, attention, follow through, next steps, as presented, trust, capital T trust, trusting, trust in knowing, trust in not knowing, trust in follow through, choice, to choose, chosen, state of awareness, as aware of, lack of awareness, itty bitty, nincompoopery, silliness, fun, childlike, joyful, lighthearted, attention to detail, abort mission, blind luck / capital T trust.
Can you go back to abort mission real quickly? How do you mean abort mission?
If something is not working, because that was during in Florida, it was if we had to abort mission to change it up, and we would call it abort mission and choose again, and that's where the solution, mission, journey, next steps, freedom, clear, open, openness, space, opportunity, practice, persistence, application, follow through, courage, strength, strength in being, awareness, awareness into more, connection, connection to more, infinite connection, abort mission again, choose again, deliberate, deliberateness, deliberate choice, deliberate awareness, deliberate trust, creativity, creation, create, make more with trust, trust there is more without knowing, intention, intend, appreciation, what is, as appears, reality, real me, right for me, my belief, my truth, habit, over and over, change, resolution, universe, God, godlike, ego, big I, little I. This is kind of a absolute, limiting, numbers, infinite, more, alignment, attunement, anomaly, appreciation, abundance, abundant, fearless, fear, fearful, self-checking, test, gift, surprise.
Sorry, 1 second, just to go back. You said fear and fearful.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate how they apply in this context specifically?
For me, it's being aware of fear and being aware of when I'm being, they're personal, for me.
So maybe put it then as fear-awareness, fear awareness. Or, or just fear awareness, either way, right? So full awareness of fearfulness in the context as what you useful things in themselves, fear itself, right?
Correct, yes.
All right, okay. Just to, I'm just making
no, I
a
understand.
point.
No, that's good. Yeah, because
make it useful.
yep.
Yeah.
Self-checking, test, gift, surprise, completion, change, alter, choice, choose, chosen, I choose, my choice, next step as needed, prepare as best I can, zoom out and pause, follow through to the end, aware, deliberate, present in the moment, alert to, aware of, deliberateness, communication, communicate, share. That's where I had ended with that one, and then I did the module 8. So I can keep going if you'd like.
Hold on 1 second. A couple points
Sure.
here. You said intention and intend.
Yes.
So I want to really just be clear on the difference between intention and intent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that on that list, yes, we want intent, but we want intent as a noun as well, as a thing, rather than intention. because intentions are really wishes and hopes, and they're a bit hollow and empty. And so we want to shift out of this. We see intention all over the internet. Everybody says intention. They don't really know what they're talking about, actually. And, they don't go to that extra deeper step of understanding exactly intent and the difference between the two. We can have intentions all day long and say, oh, I had good intentions. Yeah, but you still, messed up. Whatever, you still did your nonsense. You still indulged, even though you had good intentions. But if we intend something, it actually happens. We're doing it. We're putting it into action. We're committing to it. We're applying energy to it. So intent is a realness, whereas intention is maybe, possibly, it's more of a hope and a wish. Very seldom does anything much come from an intention. It might, but usually not. So when we make that distinction and then we say, I intend to do this, it's my intent to do this. That intent becomes something that has a will and a power and a life of its own, right? Because not only have we said when I have an intent, I'm putting into motion a process because I'm putting my energy and my commitment to this. My intent, I'm saying this will happen. I will make this happen. This is not something that may or may not happen, might happen. No. If I intend it, it is in process to happen. It's in process to happen, right? That's what an intent is. It is a firmly putting things into process. Now, typically, the universe gets involved, right? When we set an intent. So setting an intent is not a casual thing. That's why people intuitively say intention, because they know an intention is not this commitment. It's not this responsibility. When I set an intent, I'm putting things in motion. In other words, there's a responsibility involved, there's a commitment involved. It's a big deal. So it's a very big difference between intention and intent. That's why you'll see me almost never say intention, always intent, because to understand the difference is very, very profound. It's a very, very, very big deal. Yeah.
Just think of for me, Robin, it made it really clear because, we've all tossed that word intention around a bazillion times. And in the beginning, I would mistakenly use it. And, Sil was always quick to say, what'd you just say? An intention is a thought, a wish, a want. It's a noun. But the intent, think of it as the action of actually doing something. So that's why it's so different. It's an action. When you make an intent, you're going to do it. When you make an intention, you're just thinking about
It's
it.
just a thought. It's just a thought. Right. Right. Right.
Okay, that helps. That definitely helps.
It's a big deal. It's
It is a big deal.
big deal. Yeah. 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 Massive. Now, the other point that came up there. Oh, wait till you finished adding that. All right. So when you started, it sounded to me like you said impeccability, and all of the terms were what you mean by impeccability, but I think I misunderstood. All of these are your power conceptions, yes?
Yes.
They're not entries under impeccable. Okay, okay. So what you were delineating there, you could also say not only are they your dictionary of power, but you could put them all under the heading of way of impeccability. Everything that you listed there is way of impeccability, yes? Also,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So as we go ahead, we'll get into, and we'll do this as a separate thing at the end of the program. We'll get into going through your dictionary of power one by one, and then to add the definitions to them. Say, what does this mean? What is it? And we'll, like we were doing with Sue, going over her definitions and just getting into detail on them so that we can be clear that we really really know what this means. It's a very very fun and powerful thing to do. So yeah, just keep adding to it, just keep adding to it. So let's hear the ones that you pulled out from module 8.
So then what I sat with last night was intent, how it all works, liberate, knowing what I want to do, trust through experience, pay attention, experience, continual awareness, appropriateness is always appropriate, valuable result, resolutions always come, receive the benefit, patient, patience is absolutely vital, patience with trust. On the universal grid, want means nothing. Encompassing, acknowledge through awareness, understanding, attunement, intent, universal intent, ultimate tool.
We said attunement. Maybe add alignment and anomalies, because those three go together. They're a massive power triangle. Attunement, if we truly understand attunement, we cannot do so without understanding alignment and also understanding anomalies. They're all part of the same package. So we'll get into it. We'll go over it again later when we do the expanded understandings, because that's really, there aren't definitions. We don't want definitions. Definitions are limiting also. We want expanded understandings of these power terms. And when
It's
we
like
do
AAA.
that, exactly. Yeah, it is AAA. We love AAAs. Well, I got a bunch of them. I'll show you some AAAs in a moment here. Hang on 1 second. I don't think I've shared this with you yet, have I?
No, I don't think so, but that's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, what I'm looking to share is the mind map. Did I share that with you?
No, she didn't see that. I don't think.
I don't think so. And you will see a couple AAAs there. That's why it's called the A+ philosophy, because we really do like the A's. We're very fond of them.
I don't think I heard in there just regular appropriateness. Yeah, appropriateness is always appropriate. But I don't know if I heard appropriateness.
Well, this list you're sharing now is from module 8.
Right. So I haven't.
Was it on your first list? Yeah.
I think I had it on my first list, but the one that I did on my first, but the one I did on my first list, that was just pulling from my head of what popped up at that time. And what was really interesting about that it was just what I was pulling, even though knowing there was more. So I just said, this is what I could pull from that. So yes.
Nice.
And look
so
at how
when we
I'll
go ahead.
It just popped in your head. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. Yeah. That's really cool. So when we go through it, you want to make it a practice. As you go through the slides, you can either do it afterwards or at the same time. As you do, first you do the repeat back, then you do your takeaway. And then once you've done that, then you take your takeaway and the repeat back and you say, wow, how do I make this into power terms so that I can use all my notes? That's the mechanism. You condense all of your understanding into a power term that becomes usable, that you can live, that you can every day connect to and use. So this is a huge deal, a huge deal. So I'm very keen to be absolutely clear on why we make the dictionary of power and how we use it and why it is of power specifically. This is very, very important to understand how the brain works, how we retrieve information, how we connect to it. We can do so innately and automatically through the use of language, right? Because language is an innate thing that's built into us already. It's our operating system, as it were, right? So we are using information retrieval mechanisms in a very, very sophisticated way. We are being doubly sophisticated to leverage innate automatic learning through leveraging our self-honesty. If we use our power terms, we stay connected to them, we automatically apply them, because you don't want to be a liar. You don't want to be using things that you just don't know what you're talking about, right? You can't be phony. So there's a real power to the dictionary of power. It is a super big deal, and it's very, very sophisticated.
And
very cool.
And it really is a big deal. Don't get overwhelmed by it, because when you go, even when you go back over in module 8, the last thing to go back over all the modules and all the sessions, you can then, for me, it's something you may want to consider if you choose to. As I went through each slide, I wrote the word down that popped out, or the conception that popped out. And so I had mine all chunked by session. Then I went back and sorted them and alphabetized them and then took out all the duplicates. Then you have a basis to do all the conceptual meanings for you in them. So you'll have an opportunity. Don't let, think, you're going to
don't get overwhelmed, in other words.
and do all the modules again and summarize. So there's a great time for you to really look at those power terms that are already built into the program. And they start to pop right out on the page for you.
So I want to share two things here. So this is a mind map of way of impeccability. It's also a mind map of the A+ philosophy, right? And it's or the philosophy of appropriateness, all the same thing. And, like we said, the triple A's, that's why it's called the A+ philosophy, because, well, there's always more as in the plus, but we like those A's, right? So we love those A terms. They're very potent. Plus, also, this is a mind map, you could say, of the way of impeccability's dictionary of power, right? So this is also showing how it's all connected and there's a flow to it. So we are going into the full depth of the dictionary of power. So now we're going to see the dictionary of power in a visual format, and that has some art, some abstraction, so there's a moreness to it. I'll show you now.
Oh, yes.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. It's very cool. Let me just get this out the way so I can see what you see. All right, there we go. Okay, so you see a little high.
This is an example of Sil's
There we
brain
go.
in a visual.
Right. So welcome to the internal world of whatever goes on.
Exactly. This is what Frauka was really puzzled about,
Yeah.
because this is what
Yeah.
mind is.
Oh, I should show Frauke this, and she say, "Yes, my neurographic drawing. See, straight lines, Frauke, straight lines. See."
Around all them intersections, Beena.
Yeah, true. But they are a bit rounded. Look, you see the rounding there?
Just a bit, we will do more.
All right. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
This is a good idea to do this as a neurographic drawing with the roundings. Actually, be very cool. All right. So here we go. Appropriateness. You see, with the size, it's the biggest one, right? Appropriateness is connected to attunement and awareness. Your first power triangle of AAA, right? And then, of course, that's connected to application. You can have attunement, awareness, application, and more power triangles. Each one of these are power triangles. Awareness is connected to attention and appreciation, and also the abstract. So it's actually a pyramid, 4 like that, and a base connecting to a point in the top. It makes a pyramid, which is 4 triangles put together. So we love these. Then you've got attunement, which is connected to alignment, anomalies, acting with the outer gender. And you see it's symbolic and metaphoric, conscious and deliberate in the middle. Appropriateness is connected to intent and impeccability. See, the top of the pyramid, in other words, right? So it's very cool. I think there were maybe some more. Oh, yeah, there's some more A terms: authenticity, accountability. Now, these aren't triple A's, but nonetheless, they connect to application, authenticity, accountability, another triple A. So that's why we love these A terms. But as we go down, you see all of that is where you start from, the big abstract, right? So you see here under self-conception, we've got the dictionary of power, strategic self-leverage. Now we say, okay, what is this? How does this connect? From self-conception, we go to the details of it, which is character. And you got all of these that come right. But if we just go to the main core ones, ways of being, ways of living. And if you look at the colors, you see, that connects to the colors of attunement and awareness, you see. So in that same color scheme, yeah. So they all connect in the color. So this is the details of ways of being, of course, all of them, yeah. Ways of being, moods, mindfulness, attitudes. Oh, I got 2 attitudes. That all loops back into, see, well, yes, some curved lines loops back into ways of being. We've got ways of living, which are, overviews, essentials. And then you go into details on that. Now look at the lines that are funneling down, right? It comes down here through habit management, mood management, energy management. And there's other managements here too. Attention management, association management, right? All connected here. From here, we get back again to impeccability, how important it is, conscience, scrupulousness. See, impeccability is that glue that connects it all. All connects to the strategy, emphasis, application, how exactly, anticipation, how exactly we implement these things. This all, see the funneling lines, all funnels down into power, personal power, ultimate evolution, self-ease, personal freedom, capital C, confidence, connectedness, right? Ultimate survival, deliberately usable energy. This all then takes us from that power into the moreness of magic, fluid reality, independence of being, silent knowledge. So there's a point and a purpose to what we do. It's not just empty. And
Do you
then
have
if you
this
look,
somewhere?
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, it's on my computer. I'll print it out as a poster. I'm not always too keen to share this because there's a lot of power in this, and it's a lot of moreness. So
But that's just it. There's so much in that for
I know,
me, well, like,
but
let's put it this way. For me, you're helping me understand
yeah,
where these terms are
yeah,
appropriate.
yeah, yeah.
And so I use them correctly
All right,
and
but we'll get there.
understand them
We'll get there.
correctly. That's
Right. This moreness, this mind map, it is essentially a whole program on its own. And I'm reluctant to share it without really going into it in depth. So as we go in the hearing and helping and in the moreness project in general, we will get to this and go into it in a depth in more. Absolutely. Absolutely. So also I just wanted to share here, if we zoom out a little bit to the whole thing, there it is set up somewhat as a as a figure. This is your
Oh,
head
I could
and
see
your,
that. Absolutely.
the mind and all of that, and then this is the body and the arms. Now, okay, it funnels down into a single leg, maybe that you are very firmly grounded, or your feet are together, maybe. But anyway, it does. You really. It's more like it's kind of a person and a tree combined, and it goes down into that root. Yeah. So you're kind of firmly planted in the world. So, but there is that abstract overview of it, that you've got the abstract at the top, you've got the detail in the middle, and then you get to your roots, your moreness at the bottom. You can flip it around, turn it upside down too. Actually, if I were to do this as a neurographic drawing, you will see that it goes up and it goes down from appropriateness. You see the arrow goes up to perspective shifting, and to in the very top here, it goes to make sense. You see that capital M, capital S makes sense. Now, if we take this makes sense, it will loop back all the way down to the more at the very bottom, right? Go up and down. When you get to it making sense, you get into moreness, because the making sense in that grand M, capital S makes sense. The whole universe making sense, everything making sense. That's when you live in moreness. So it goes both ways, loops around back to itself. It's hard to illustrate on this, but really this should be on a globe, where it loops around to itself, all connected, right? Same thing. If you put this on a globe, and like if you look here in the middle, right, ways of living and ways of being will loop around to the back, where they meet again with character, right? Character goes all the way around, right? Two sides of the same, like left brain, right brain, you could say, but they're all part of your character. So they'll touch again at the other side, right? So that's very cool. So that's really how this needs to be depicted on a sphere, on a globe. So, hey, what happened to Sue? She came back in again. Anyway. So I think you missed the last point here real quick, Sue, because I don't think I mentioned it before when we talked about this. But if we zoom out on this is now on a flat here, but it really should be on a globe. So if you put this on a globe, the more at the bottom, loops around and touches to the make sense, right? With everything in the middle again, right? On the other side, kind of reflected inversely. In the same way, if you go on the sides, character and ways of being and ways of living, they touch again on the other side, and there's again a character point, right? So you got it on, see, it loops around on back onto itself, all folds back in, because it's all connected. Everything is connected to everything else. I mean, all of this, we have impeccability here as a core point, but we can, here with ways of living, we can take all of these points, and they all would be connected to impeccability, right? I mean, I didn't put it all in, but really it should be like in the middle of all of these, there's impeccability again, tying them all together. Same over here, impeccability ties it all together. You see, and here there's some that I ran out of ways to do this just in how this software works. But see, between self-conception and character, we have sobriety as a connecting link. Between character and habit management, we've got effort reward. So that's why habits come in, because it seems to be a lot of reward for low effort, but we have to be a bit discerning and say, yeah, short term, So somewhere in there is probably short term logic. But anyway, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. That's why I don't share it so much, because it takes a lot to get into all the details of it. But I will make it as a poster to put up. Yeah, and also it's not something that I share lightly, because I don't want it to be out there as something, because as a shareable picture, one could just forget and you post it and then it gets shared. So I'm very cautious about that a little bit too. This is powerful stuff, and I'm a bit responsible with stuff like this. So don't share it too easily. Yeah. I know sharing is a big deal, but sometimes if you share something and one doesn't really go into the fullness of it, you only get half and a parcel, and then it can cause misunderstandings, which I wish to avoid. Misinterpretations, misassociations. But I will make it into a poster. That's kind of one of my next projects here. But now that I think of this, to do this as a neurographic drawing, separately in addition to this, that might be very cool. Also, show more of the connectivities and all that.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
We'll do it. We'll
Yeah.
do it as a project. We'll do it as a project.
Yes.
Sure.
That's
Yeah,
very
we'll do it
cool.
together.
Yeah.
Because
But
there's,
that reminds me
I
of, what
did
is
this.
that? What is it,
Yeah.
Kyle? Is it Kyle White? That I can't remember who that artist is with it coming out, and I can't remember if that's him. I think I'm thinking of somebody else, but I will find it. There are two pictures in my head that immediately when you had said, I saw exactly what you were saying, and there were two pictures that came to mind that actually explained to me what I was seeing in those two pictures. So that's why I found that really interesting.
Brilliant.
Mhm.
Now,
So I'll
I'm
get
glad
those
you found
pictures
this
and send them
useful.
to you.
So, yeah. So I will work on getting this out. But like I said,
In an
like,
appropriate way, absolutely.
yes. I'd like to do this. Really, what it needs to do is have its own separate program, as a condensation program, as a binding it all together program. And so that's why it's part of the Mourners project, really going into this in detail. And then part of that particular program will be going through it, where you make your own mind map of your own dictionary power. Yes, this represents way of impeccability, and that's what it's called. It's called the way of impeccability mind map, or the A+ philosophy mind map, or the philosophy of appropriateness. Either way, all the same thing. But at some point, you want to make your own one also, and then part of the program is to take this as the template and say, okay, let me customize it and say, okay, when it comes to awareness, what do I have under awareness? What is awareness for me? What does it mean to me? And all of this, what is alignment, attunement? What does it mean to me? And then you add those little subcategories around it with your terms. You just flesh and fill this out with your terms. That'd be very cool. Very, very, very cool. But I do want to have this as a big poster, as a 6-foot poster.
Yeah.
It needs to be a big
It
poster,
demands being on a poster.
so that we can have that daily reminder. I want to put it up like in my living room, my kitchen, where I see it every day. And you are, and just through the nature of how our brain does association, whatever's on your mind, you're gonna and what your eye catches, it's gonna catch that little thing that, okay, the real detail in there. This is about absolutely taking care of, I don't know, whatever it is, the little fiddly thing that it is. So it's a very, very powerful leveraging mechanism for connectedness and association and leveraging ourselves. Very cool. Very cool. So
And what
we'll get there.
you do still is not only you put it on a giant poster, but on that globe, put it
That would be
that would be
to do it in a spherical way. That would be
Oh, my
something
God.
else. Yeah.
yeah.
So
That
maybe that we
different.
can that would be something else. You get people who print stuff for you. I'd have to adjust it somewhat. To, like I said, where character is. It goes around, and then you need the on the other side characters there to link it again.
Right.
And between making sense and more, what links that again? Impeccability. So,
Yeah.
all these links to see impeccability goes and through the, now this is basically four sides. You've got basically north, south, east, and west, right? If you take it in a big
Right.
overview. But then you want to do, when it's on the sphere, on your diagonals, which connects everything again, impeccability once again.
Yeah.
Impeccability is that glue that binds it all together. It's
Mhm.
very, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, yeah. So when we go into this, we'll go in detail. When we're done with this, we'll go in detail over your dictionary of power. Just keep letting it build. And when you think about something like, okay, you really, like we did about intent and intention. When we go into detail, take the notes of going into it in detail and add it underneath that or on the side of it. Say, okay, this is what intent means. This is what intention means. Add those little understandings to it as you do that. It will help you later as you go just in the daily thinking. It's like, okay, we really got into intent and intention. We went into detail. Add that as the extended understanding. Don't call it a definition. Call it an extended understanding. Like if you had a column, power terms, power conceptions, rather, either way. And then you've got the extended understandings. Yeah, it's a very useful way of looking at it. Very powerful, very powerful. Were there more terms for your dictionary and power,
Oh,
Robin?
oh yeah. Um,
Oh, okay. Keep going, keep going.
um,
Oh, that's right. I did pause you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my pen. My intent, trust, commit, universe, intent equals moreness, being fullness, deliberate patience, follow through, intent to
Mm,
goodness, patience, sobriety, independence of being, discernment, discipline, impeccability, maximum appropriateness, awareness,
mm,
immersion bubbles, low energy, pay attention to, my deep and true intent, intent is energy, energy repurposed, aware of
mm,
myself, my own, intent is a
mm.
potent force.
Oh, one sec. So when you said aware of myself, that would be self-awareness, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's just useful to stick to a particular format because we are writing down conceptions. You see, so when you say it in the format of self-awareness rather than aware of myself, self-awareness as a concept, as a thing, becomes something that you can use. See, so there's a logic underlying the format of how we write this. To say aware of myself, it's not a thing in itself. It's a little harder to use. But self-awareness, oh, this is something I can use. This is something I can connect to. Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
That could be even more of your definition of what self-awareness is.
Right. Right. Right.
So
To be
no, this
aware
is
of myself. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it just we are looking to work in conjunction with the structure of language because it has its own inherent structure that provides usefulness and meaning inherently. So how we say it, it actually does make a difference, right? So
Mhm.
it's small, it's subtle, it's not the end of the world. It's not, you don't have to change it. I'm just saying why to get into that habit.
no, it's
Okay,
it's
more useful. Yeah.
yes, yes, no, I like because here
Every
I just
right.
changed something around here too. Now that you've shared that with
Brilliant.
me.
Let me just go sideways a little bit here. Way of impeccability. It is all about value and usefulness. That's our determining criteria, value and usefulness, right? So it is a program that provides you the tools to get to value and usefulness. We don't care if it's true or not true. We're going to get value and usefulness either way. That's why way of impeccability is a toolbox for deliberate living. It's not a belief system. It's a toolbox. Very big difference, right? And that toolbox, it's filled with tools that work for you, your tools. Yes, some of them come from us too, like just the concept of impeccable itself. But once you own it, and that's part of the session back when was it module 7 or 6, where we talked about owning and self-proof. You need to make it your own. If you don't make it your own, it's somebody else's, it loses value or it diminishes in value. So it becomes yours, all of these tools, right? Impeccability becomes yours because you've thought it through to the end. You've owned it, you've self-proven it to yourself. So this is what makes it powerful. We ain't messing about here. We are providing the mechanism by which you get to empower yourself, right? And one of those powerful mechanisms is thinking it through to the end, which leads to owning it, which leads to self-proving it, right? It's really, really critical. Then it's completely and totally yours because you've proven it to yourself. Now you can use it as yours. Much of what I use, I picked up somewhere along the line. Some of it I use as I acquired it. Most of it, though, the overwhelming majority, probably 95%, I've taken and extended even further because some of these concepts are really cool, but they're not thought through to the end all the way. They're not fleshed out all the way. All right, this is just my personal predilection, I suppose, to do so. But when you do that, that's where the power comes from. That's where the usefulness and the value comes from. Really, really, really knowing it and understanding it. Right. Very powerful. Very powerful. Yeah. But I want to also again say the dictionary of power, it is the building blocks of you, Robin. You as a spirit warrior. Yeah. So you can even put on your dictionary of power, maybe instead of Robin's dictionary of power, it's Spirit Warrior Robin's dictionary of power. That's actually the most appropriate title for it. It's Spirit Warrior Robin's dictionary of power. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we did a
That
real
dictionary of sorry, I just want to add one more point, Sue. That dictionary of power, you can put as a subtitle, and you could say there, this is who I really am. This is what comprises my real self. Yeah.
right.
Spirit Warrior Robin's Dictionary of Power. This is who I really am. This is what really comprises my real self. Yes, Robert?
Yes.
This is what I stand for. This is what I apply. This is what I am. This is what I do. This is my being is comprised of this. Yeah. This is me. This is my guts, my bones, my marrow, my sinew, my everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And yesterday, we had a really cool conversation with another applicant, participant. I mean, we were talking about receptivity, and Beena brought up this really intense. So, dictionary of power. When you go for the meaning for you, what I heard there yesterday. So I modified my dictionary of power, and it's just to give you a little taste of it, because the explanation of what it means for you is not like a dictionary definition. It's
Correct.
way
It's
bigger than
extended
that.
understanding. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So listen to this,
Right.
just for the word receptivity, a way of being to receive without influence. It's also
Right.
the
Pause. Go ahead. Sorry, go.
It's also an underlying philosophy of way of impeccability, which it surely is. It's how you can receive maximum info first and then be able to dissect it later. So you're just receiving it, receptivity. Another expression is a way of trusting yourself fully in your innate goodness and understanding. Another conception or explanation is it opens us up for more exploration and by removing all filters and fears. And it's also the ability to receive something as it makes sense initially, so that you can do a thorough checking regardless of the outcome of it. So just to point out, when you get into that space, build all those great words, self-value, self-appreciation, resolution, appropriateness. And then when you go to conceptualize those meanings for you, they're the kind of things that come out. And that's why listening for me, when I would be in sessions with the first program anytime, and I was taking it, writing it by hand and then re-entering it. Every time a dictionary of power word came up that I didn't pick up, or Sil said, or Beena said, make sure that's in your dictionary. So I would write it down, and my little cue was I put an asterisk with a circle around it. So I knew what's that word sitting there for all by itself. I knew
You can make the tag instead of a little circle. You can just put DOP next to it.
yeah, whatever works for
Because
you.
all your dictionary of power terms are pretty dope, are they not?
Yeah. Very cute.
Nope.
Another
Yeah.
acronym there.
I love those. I love
Yeah.
those. They're
Yeah.
mnemonic devices. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very important. One point real quick on the receptivity. Beena went and looked up her original comment. Remember that she couldn't remember that I asked her to repeat. So what is it, Beena? You still need to put it in Messenger for me so I can add it to my quote
Yes,
file.
it is there. So, Robin, it was, and Sue,
Oh.
thank you so much for sharing that, because receptivity is a big deal. And once we actually acquire this, this is a life transformative concept
Yeah.
of way of impeccability. So for me, receptivity is a way of being, you can choose temporarily or permanently. In this state of being, we allow ourselves to receive completely and fully without getting influenced by any external or internal pre-existing ideas or beliefs.
Mhm.
There you go.
Mhm.
There
So
you
this
go.
is something, when we choose, we allow ourselves. Yes, okay, we have understanding. We all have. We all know what is good and what is not, what is impeccable or not. It could be not in our consciousness at that time, but we all are aware. So what we do is we allow ourselves to be completely at a neutral place, to receive it completely without getting this idea gets corrupt by our pre-existing or society or culture or religion or anything, any idea or beliefs. Just receive it. Like someone send you a gift and you just receive it. You don't open it at the door. Okay, I will see what it is, then I will receive it. No, we just receive it and we appreciate it, we acknowledge it, and then we open it. See that, okay, maybe it might not be a useful thing. Either way, we get the value of receiving. Just on initial basis, we receive and we get the value of having something, of sharing. And this is an incredible power. This is an incredible gift for anyone. First, just to having this feeling of receiving something. So just be receptive is a big deal for me. And Essel says that it's an underlying philosophy of way of impeccability. To receive it, it is also, as Sue mentioned, that it is about testing your own trust. Okay, I know what I'm going to receive or not, whether I'm going to accept it or not, but I am allowing myself to receive what other people or person or whatever is sharing. So it is a kind of a leverage to actually make my self-trust stronger and stronger by practicing receptivity. Because every single time I'm putting myself in a situation where I might get influenced, but I'm allowing myself to receive it without having any fear of getting influenced by it. This is a very, very nuanced and very comprehensive, detailed concept behind that, which is really amazing.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Big
So you
deal.
see how when you really understand just that single concept, receptivity, how it changes it and how there's so much more meaning. You get it. You take that into yourself and it becomes you because you really,
Self-leverage.
really understand it. I mean, are you going to look at receptivity differently, from this point on?
Oh, just in
Leverages us.
what I heard from both of you, I just made the word so it's receptivity, but then it was neutral, to
Yeah.
receive,
Yes.
trust, accept. Then I just saw what you had written being a temporary or like it just So yes, receptivity
Okay,
is so
so
much more now.
right, right. Also, very important in receptivity is openness. We
Yes,
are open to whatever we are. That receptivity is opening ourselves to
Exactly.
right, to being open to that what we are connecting to could and usually does make sense, right? So that we come at it from this profound, positive give, so that we start off to say, I'm going to assume that this makes sense. I'm going to be receptive to the fact that it does make sense, so that I don't have any filters coming into this.
Exactly.
Receptivity is the setting aside of all filters, right?
Yes. Yes.
That we
Just
can hear it for what it is, and we do add, sorry, Beena, we
no, no,
do
no.
add that particular bias. We actually add a deliberate bias. We are
Mhm.
saying that I'm going to assume that it does make sense. So we're adding a bias of positivity, a bias of sensibility, so that now we start to look at it as if it makes sense. And
Yes.
then we start to see the moreness beyond what we are able to see. That's what
Yes.
receptivity is. It opens us up to be able to connect to moreness because we are transcending our prejudices and preconceived ideas.
Mhm.
So
So just
receptivity is a lot more than just hearing what somebody's saying. It's hearing past what they are saying through being receptive.
mhm. Yeah. Just one more thing, like everyday example, how we implement, how we can implement this receptivity. Saying no is a big deal, and it's a big power when we can actually say no to anything. Okay, we want to actually want to say no to, but it's a big deal. Not everyone can easily, without having any guilt, without having any obligation, can say no. And we all are trying to be in a position where we can say no. But how can we say no to something which we don't have a real understanding of? And this is the
Exactly.
power. This is
hmm
the real power. That yes, I have this power to say no, but first I need to be, it's a kind of like, duh, you have to see what is coming your way. First, I have to be open. First, I have to be receptive. First, I have to be impeccable about to be really open to, okay, whatever other person is saying, I am going there with the understanding in my mind, with a state of being of receptivity that it all makes sense.
Right.
After that, yes, because I know what it is, I'm saying it no. So actually, I am really getting a powerful leverage of saying no because I know whatever it is, and I'm saying it. What to I'm saying no. This is really interesting because it's a power term. Saying no, it's a big deal. But we
Mm-hmm.
have to be receptive first to
Right.
see what we are going to say no about.
Right. So
So that's
Beena,
everyday thing for me. Yes, please.
so so we can say receptivity is saying yes, and then
Making a choice.
through our receptivity, having that yes proven to be a yes. Then we can decide whether no is appropriate or not. But
Exactly.
before we say no, we need to first say yes and know why the yes is valid.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So
Yes.
receptivity is not just about saying yes, it's about validating that yes. Because we've said yes, we now seek to validate that yes. When we validate that yes, we get to see beyond what we might otherwise have seen. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
the key with
And,
receptivity.
Yeah.
It
and
But
is
that,
saying
receptivity is
yes,
the leverage.
proving the
Yeah,
yes so that we can see beyond what we would otherwise see.
yeah.
exactly. And we can apply it to anything in any aspect of our life. So receptivity is a leverage to get more out of anything.
Hmm.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anything, any idea. It could be anything. Oh, I'm receptive when I'm way of understanding.
Oh,
We set an intensity that we will get And this is a power.
It is a power,
It's a
because
power.
isn't there a deliberateness to this also?
Oh, hell yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know
yes.
for me, you just said something where leverage for more out of anything. And what that brought up for me was how many times I would respond. So I wasn't really in that receptive mode because I wasn't deliberately aware, and the word that's coming is in the zone. I wasn't deliberately present to receive.
Yes.
And that's almost a habit.
Exactly. Receptivity is precisely the deliberate mechanism to transcend the habit of limited perception.
Yes.
Right. And without receptivity, you are limited. Without
Right.
receptivity, it limits you, plain and simple.
Yes.
And
Right.
I hear too, receptivity really opens up your earnestness. It really lets that come in
Exactly.
and take an interest.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know, you don't have to agree. You just are seriously interested in what someone else is saying. Digest it later. Let it in.
Right. Right. So we can
Deliberate
say
hearing.
Yes.
receptivity is a deliberate, earnest connectivity to objectivity.
Ah, Jesus.
Wait, can you say that
All
again?
right. Yeah.
Yes.
Receptivity is the deliberate, earnest connectivity to objectivity.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Stop it, Bill. Stop it.
Yes.
Really potent. Okay.
It is.
And we can put in brackets at the end of that, and moreness. Right?
Yes.
It is really, really opening the door to moreness, because it's the transcendence of our prejudice and our preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
Our biases, right? And I say prejudice, I don't mean it in the negative sense, but we prejudiced by what we think we know.
Mhm.
So receptivity is that deliberate transcendence of the bias of the limitations of what we believe is.
Mhm.
Right? We're receptive thus to more. And we are doing this deliberately. So receptivity is a deliberate openness to more. Yeah. Setting aside the limitations of ourselves. And when we assume it makes sense, and then we see how, when we assume yes, when we say yes, and we say, how does this a yes? How does this make sense? Then we have to bring in more in order to see that sense. It's very powerful, very powerful. We get to connect to biggerness, to moreness. Now, there may be times we're receptive to what somebody's saying, and I give it every benefit of the doubt. I give it every way to see its sense. I see how it makes sense, but I see, oh, it's making sense within a bubble, right? I get that objectivity. I see it's making sense to you in your bubble, but in the greater bubble, well, sorry, but it's nonsense. Okay, that happens sometimes, right? But I give it a good stick. I don't just write it off because I've got a pre-existing bias to it. I really give it every opportunity to make sense of its own accord. Typically, sometimes, things make sense in bubbles. All right, then we see the bigger picture. We still see how it makes sense. But sometimes that bubble is bigger than ours.
Mhm.
We need to have that openness to that too. That's typically what receptivity, when in the context of our conversations, when we are discussing moreness and in all the power terms, that receptivity to more is to say, oh, this makes sense. And the bubble is bigger than mine. That yes, that making sense, that give, that assumption to say, oh, there's more here. That is what enables us to say, oh, there's a bigger bubble than the one that I'm in. Yeah. So receptivity, we could say, is deliberate bubble shifting to more,
Mhm.
or to deliberately shifting to a bigger bubble. Yeah. Right, Beena? You muted in case you're adding stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
just
that
loved it.
deliberate plus there's a nuance that the Beena brings into receptivity. She says, I'm connecting receptivity to capital T trust and to self-trust. capital S, capital T, self-trust. Why? Because I am transcending the conditioned programmed belief and fear that if I am receptive, I will automatically be influenced. No, says Beena. No, 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 says Beena. Just because I am receptive does not mean I will automatically be influenced. No. Right. My self-trust, my sobriety, my sensibility, my impeccability demands that I am receptive. And it demands that I only am influenced if I choose to be so. I cannot be influenced against my will because I'm conscious and deliberate. So, therefore, if I am fully receptive, I am being fully deliberate and fully conscious. How can I possibly be influenced inadvertently? I cannot because I'm in conscious, deliberate mode. I cannot be influenced inadvertently. I will only be influenced if it's appropriate for me. Being receptive means I understand something outside of myself. Then I choose to incorporate it or not. How much, how little, as is appropriate. But it's not automatic that receptivity leads to influence. No, no,
Yes.
no, no. Right? This is an absolutely crucial understanding with receptivity. It is not automatic influence or acceptance or use. Right?
Mhm.
Not automatic. We are simply receptive to it, and it leads to understanding. And understanding, in capital U understanding, is an objective appreciation. As much as objective, and we put in brackets there, as much as we can, as much as we possible. We're trying our best to be objective, knowing it is it's a perfection ideal that we may never acquire, but we do the best we can.
Yeah, this is a perfect conversation for the understanding the power uh, of the dictionary of power and how those
I thought she was
conceptions,
taking notes.
yeah, and how those conceptions are larger than life.
Yeah.
They're not words, and there's an absolute emphaticness that we understand they are much more than a word. They're a conception. So you can see all that's built in to those 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 letters of
Yes.
receptivity.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
It's a
that's
big
the
deal.
power. So that's why it's not just a dictionary. It's a dictionary of
Yes.
power.
That's why as we're going through this, I mean, it's everything we were just talking about. You know, if
Exactly.
you really break
It-
down every single word that we, and and I'm saying we because we all have our own dictionary of power.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and it may look a little bit different on how we understand it, but as we're sharing together, it's all there. We all have our way of understanding it, and it's all
Right.
of the dictionary of
See,
power. It's all the way of it is all and more.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And is it not the perfect exemplification of receptivity, what we just did, receiving information? Just letting it in, and then you're going to decide which parts of that make sense to you. Powerful. It's
Interesting
crazy.
too is that, you know, every day I
exactly.
know, and so to have the understanding of these concepts, but they may shift a little bit depending on where I am in my mood, in my energy level. Less there today. It may have a little bit more today, but that capital U understanding is very powerful today.
Yeah.
In
It's
understanding.
ridiculously powerful.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the dictionary of power is precisely this mechanism for the application of understanding.
Mhm.
This is what it is. The dictionary of power is this is understanding made manifest. Yes. And we are taking the understanding that we've come to through our repeat backs, through our takeaways, through our discussions, right? Through our connectivities. We are taking all of that understanding, and the dictionary of power makes that understanding usable. This is the key. If it's not usable, we don't get the value out of it. We've got to find ways to make it usable and thus valuable. That's what the dictionary of power does.
I love how you said dope because that's, I think of my kids using these words, and now that's all I think of is this dictionary of
Exactly.
power.
Exactly. I have a post somewhere of acronyms and delineations of all of them that I did. It was just very fun, So, and how there's a moreness to it, and yeah, it was very cool. Very cool. Yeah, let me see if I can find it. So when we look at this, it's really when you take most people, right, and take any participant and remove the dictionary of power and look at the massive notes that they acquire. Those are potent, powerful notes, right? This is real magical stuff in there. But how do you use it? It's too much to use in note form, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you take notes, It's powerful stuff. You want to use it, you want to remember it, you want to put it, apply it. But how? The dictionary of power is the how. And then the dictionary of power, it's called a dictionary because it connects to language and vocabulary. That's why I use that term specifically, Sue. Because when we understand the point and purpose of the dictionary of power is, again, it's not just to put it there. How do you use it? By using it in your everyday language. It's in the module, the session on dictionary of power. The task of that specific session was to use your terms in your everyday language to get into the habit of doing this. So we are saying we don't even want to rely on you remembering your dictionary of power. We're going to make it automatic. Start practicing using it in your language. Then the learning, the growth, the change, the application, the value, the usefulness will come automatically through leveraging self-honesty and your absolute, abhorrence of being a phony. Use your dictionary of power in your language, right? That's why make those terms special terms. Again, look at the underlying sophistication. Why is it that when you write, for instance, you capitalize your dictionary of power terms to distinguish them from ordinary terms, right? So when we write trust, it's capital T trust. It means more than just regular trust. Big difference, right? It's likewise for all the terms. Same thing when they're a compound term, hyphenated and capitalize both terms, right? So that when you say this, it means more. There's a moreness to it in your brain when you say it. The visual, if you now think that way, you are seeing it capitalized every time, right? It's
Mhm.
that mnemonic device that leverages it all the time. It's saying, when I use this term, it means more than the usual word. It has my personal particular meaning to it. Now, we have a lot of overlap with our dictionary of power, of course, in the context of way of impeccability. Here, when on Zoom sessions, when we say impeccability, we know what each other means. You may have your individual tweaks to this, but at basis, we're all talking about best use of energy, self-respect. Due respect. Scrupulous, thoroughness, diligence, etc., conscience, all of that. So we know what each other means, even though our own individual tweak will have its own little personal additions to it. So this is very powerful, right? And again, the end point is our big overall picture, our big intent. Why are we here? For self change and life change. That's what we're doing, right?
So just to share
That's
in
the main
regards to
center column.
this, I had a session the other day, and it was very interesting because of being down in Florida and not having a session for a couple of weeks. I was kind of trying to go through my head you know, the thing I needed in
Exactly.
that dictionary of power,
Yes.
what
Yes.
the understanding was
Exactly.
for me, I brought to the
Exactly.
table.
Awesome.
Wow.
So
Exactly. 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 Yeah. Yeah. You see now the power there. That's why it's called the dictionary of power, because it leads to application, and that application leads to daily usefulness and value. This is the point of application. It's not to do it because you're supposed to. You're doing it because you get value from it and usefulness. And that value and usefulness then leads to even more power. So that's why.
and
Right?
ownership,
And ownership.
there was
Exactly.
ownership in there because
Exactly.
I own these, I
Exactly.
understand these. So because I own them and
Exactly.
understand them, I am better
Exactly.
able to share them with you.
Exactly.
And now it's up to
Exactly.
you what you do with them.
Exactly. And ownership leverages application, which in turn leverages usefulness and value. The more you own it, the more you apply it because it's yours. The more you own it, the more innate it becomes, the more it's yours. If you fully own it and you go and use it, you self prove it to yourself. Again, enhancing the usefulness, leveraging that usefulness, right? So ownership, when you own it, you use it, you apply it, which leads to self-proof. Oh, I don't just own it, but I've proven to myself that it works. How useful and valuable is that? Magnifies on top of itself, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
There's a grand sophistication to what we do, a very grand sophistication to all of this. It all works together, and when we understand how it works, it starts to work innately and automatically. And this is what we want. But we don't want to forget why and how it works. We want to be consciously aware of how and why it works, adding even more to the power of it all, because that leads it to be deliberate. We know what we are doing and why. We know it consciously in full awareness. It's ours. It's fully aware. It's not subconscious, which is subject to others' influence. No, it's ours. Full individual independence of being ownership. Right?
Hmm.
Mm,
This
very
is
good.
really interesting that yesterday you said that it seems like Robin's graduation day, and today it seems like a master class here.
Yeah.
The way it goes. It's the way it goes. It's the way it goes.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
This is
Exactly.
our
We're
trust,
building. Building.
Robin.
We're always
Your
building.
yeah, this is our trust in your understanding, in your moreness.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. Vina,
Yes.
sorry, just to amend that,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not just our trust, it is our receptivity to Robin's mourners.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's really a
Uh,
heavy stuff.
Thanks for bringing that one all together there, Silster.
Yes.
that's a huge deal, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's truly what we do,
Sure.
and it is our skill, and it is a profound shift of how we apply the program from the very moment where we connect to you. You wouldn't be doing this program if we were not receptive to your mourners, right?
Absolutely.
If there wasn't a mourners to be receptive to, you wouldn't be able to. We couldn't do it with you. It's not possible.
Yes.
So
No.
that receptivity to your mourners is the entire mechanism of the program. What do we facilitate? We facilitate you connecting to that mourners that we are receptive to. All right, we've got some practice being receptive. We have some skills in perceiving that mourners that you might not necessarily perceive yourself. That's our skill. That's what we bring as facilitators. But we are exceedingly receptive to your mourners. And over time, we are facilitating you being more receptive to your own mourners. This is not as
Yes.
easy to do as one would think it would be. It's actually quite a bit more difficult.
Yes.
It's peculiar, but it is. Very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff.
Well,
Fantabulous,
whoever thought
fantabulous,
that how
fantabulous.
much was in receptivity? I mean, this is just amazing.
Yeah.
Exactly. The entire program is centered around a few key things like replacement. It's a philosophy. Receptivity is another philosophy. Impeccability, another philosophy. Appropriateness, another philosophy. So there's a bunch of key terms, right? Intent as well is another such one, right?
Mhm. Robin, that's the same thing I said when I did the the Mornis program that's called the Psychology of the Superiority Paradigm, PSP. And it's all about bullshit. And as I said, who ever thought there was that much to bullshit to write a book on it and then do a course on it? And it's the same thing with every word that comes out of here. Yesterday, I was on with Erica, who's out there in Oklahoma, and it was all about love. It was such a fascinating conversation with the four of us.
And it's not the first one.
Yeah, correct. But the depth that you can speak about in one single word, but the letters packed together is fascinating. It's fun. It's very fun.
It's fun. It's fun.
Mornis.
Mhm.
We are leveraging our innate genius when it comes to language. This is it. It's an innate genius that we possess, right? And we are leveraging it to the maximum, because that's really what our operating system is. It's language.
Yeah.
But like any programming, if you look at programming language, and you get higher level programming languages and lower level ones, right? We don't want to go into machine code. Machine code is it's at bottom line what happens, but it's very unusable in everyday life. So we need a higher level language. And if you actually look at programming languages, the next level up, they take programming, the machine code, and they say this is what it means in English or in whatever language, right? In regular language. And then they take that and they condense it even more. They take a whole bunch of these terms and you put it into a single term. So this one term means 10. And then you take 10 of those terms and you keep going higher level. This is what our dictionary of power is. We want the highest level abstract conceptions. That's why they're abstract conceptions, because it's not detailed. We don't want to know the exact details. That is automatically, once you understand the abstract, you can apply the details. For instance, we don't want to learn how to drive a Chevy or a Ford. We want to learn how to drive a vehicle, not even a car, a vehicle. You understand the basic principles. You give it power, you use the brake, you use gears. That's it. You understand how it works. You can drive any vehicle, right? I can go and get on a grader, for instance. Well, where's the gas? Where's the brake? Where's the gears? That's it. Where's the ignition? You understand this. This is why it's a dictionary of power. It enables us to take our understanding and apply it in pretty much any situation, right? Not just specifics. It's a high level abstract overview language. It is massive, massive power thus.
That was really neat, that analogy. I mean, when you really think about that, when you think about all of this, holy crap. The simplicity.
You just said the magic words. So repeat exactly your words that you said. When what?
I don't even know what I just said.
You said, when we think about this.
Oh.
That's it, right there. This is
think.
what we are doing as facilitators. This is our job, to get you to think about things. That's all we're trying to do. Get you to think about things. Like you just said, when we think about things, and there was a ... behind that and a big explosion of moreness, right? I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
followed. But this is a profound moreness point. When we think about things, right? And when we realize, oh my God, I spent my whole life not thinking about things. Bloody hell, I wasted all that time, right? So when we realize the power and the magic of thinking about things, this is when we truly get to be on our path to independence of being, our path to awareness, our path to knownness, our path to power. It comes from when we think about things, particularly to the end. We do it thoroughly, do it properly.
And that's very important, because
it's critical.
Yes, because when you say to think about, well then, okay, to think about, to see where once upon a time I would think and get caught in an immersion bubble. Well, now you have to go even more. So I have to think about, but now I've got to pause, zoom out, follow through to the end.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's okay.
So let's go to your statement and let's amend it and say, oh, in the light of everything we've been saying, that statement when you said, when we think about things, there's a missing word. It's there by implication in what you said.
Deliberate.
But now it's when we think about things
Deliberately.
impeccably.
Oh, impeccable.
That's the key. It's to think about things impeccably. In other words, if you think about it impeccably, you have to be thorough, scrupulous, diligent, which means you're going to think it through to the end. Also, you aren't going to waste your time on when you've gotten past a point to say, well, you know what, it's like on your Google search. Fine, go through to page 10, page 12, page 15, page 20, but there's no need for you to go to page 100 because it's just rubbish at that point, right? So again, our impeccability uses our energy and time efficiently and effectively, right? Plus, our impeccability says, I want to get usefulness and value. There's a point to what I'm doing. I'm not going to do this for no point at all. That's wasting my time and energy. I need to think it through to the end and make sure I get usefulness and value out of it. I need to make it applicable. Otherwise, again, I've wasted my time. See, the dictionary of power is precisely that, thinking it through impeccably and then connecting it to usefulness and a value and applicability, right?
I'm laughing because as you're sharing, I'm looking at what I've written and some of the stuff I've written that you've shared already, and how if I was to draw lines right now from here to there to
Yes,
I mean, it would
yes,
just be
yes, yes. Draw the lines, draw the lines, draw the lines, draw them,
but
draw them. Very
but
important, draw them,
but
draw
here's
them.
the thing is that my page would be,
So what?
I want to say blank or
So what?
black, because there'd be so many lines
So
intersecting and
what?
coming back and
So
going
what?
back, and
So what? So what? You can redraw it. You can retype it. Do it. Go ahead. Make a neurographic drawing out of it.
Cool.
Beena,
That's
share
cool
a drawing,
exercise.
please, so we can
That's
see what we're talking about. Yeah.
That's a cool exercise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is something really interesting because you guys are mentioning about acupuncture, and acupuncture points are actually works like the way Dictionary of Power terms works,
Mhm.
because
Wow.
that key
Yes.
point and it activates and it performs a specific operation in your body, and it likes wow. So now why we have this same as we have acupuncture points
Exactly.
are the key points. This is really
Yep,
really
yep.
interesting.
yes, you have these key points, and then you
Yeah.
have this moreness to every one of those points that
Exactly.
connect to, which is probably why I find it fascinating, because in some way I understand that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you think of that mind map, there were those meridians, right? The
Mhm.
energy lines that flow, connect everything. Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it was a mind blower. I said, when you really stopped and thought about how many times in your past life that you really weren't thinking, that
Oh.
you just were doing and reacting, and how much easier it is to live when you are in that deliberate, impeccable mode of
Yes.
being aware of it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a game changer.
We thought
Yes.
not thinking about things would save us energy, but
No.
it didn't. It just
No.
made our lives inordinately complicated. And talking about bullshit, how much bullshit words didn't we use which we had no clue what the hell we mean? We just blah, 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 blah.
Seriously.
But now to go a step further, it is all capital T trust, because even
Exactly.
if we feel we're being deliberate, when we look back sometimes going, I did that as impeccably as I,
Right.
and then you go,
Exactly.
wow, it was still, so it
Yes.
is,
Right.
wow.
It's more.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Good.
Exactly. And why the impeccability is the key to capital T trust. You cannot have capital T trust without impeccability. That's just foolishness, right?
Yeah.
The two are intensely connected. Same with love. We were talking about this yesterday, right? Can't have real capital L love without impeccability. Can't have awareness without impeccability. Everything, the glue always is that impeccable. Always.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And everything is just for today,
Mm-hmm.
just for this moment,
Exactly. Right.
because there's always more and it may change.
Right. So if we were to take a dictionary of power, and like in the sessions we have a quote, and the quote is sometimes it connects to a bigger moreness, a bigger overallness, right? It's not necessarily connected to the slide before or after it, right? That just expands us. Now, we take a dictionary of power. We've got the title. We've got the subheading. We can float a little quote there to start it off. And the quote would be, "It's only as good as it lasts." Or you can even leave out the "it's," just only as good as it lasts. Right? Every single entry into your dictionary of power is only as good as it lasts. Right? So you put the quote, ... only as good as it lasts. That's your quote, right? In italics. This is important to keep aware. This is our humility, because we know we are nincompoops. We know we do not know everything. So we are going to use what we have fully, thoroughly, scrupulously, diligently, with our maximum energy. And at the same time, knowing it may be nonsense. Doesn't matter. We're going into it fully because that's all we have right now. So we give it maximum, also knowing it's only as good as it lasts. The moment it gets an upgrade and new information comes, a change, we drop the old and we replace it. That's it. No fuss, no muss. We just adapt and shift. We are fluid, flexible, and adaptable because that's what appropriateness is. That's our impeccability as well. We don't hold on to nonsense because it was true all our lives. So what? That was then. The moment it comes, something else is more valuable, more true. We change, we shift, we adapt. Simple, simple. We have that power to update and upgrade immediately. Look at your computer. What does your computer do when you get an upgrade? Does it fuss and moan and kick and squirm and say, bloody hell, I've been doing this all this way. I don't want to change. I don't have to. No, it just updates. End of story. That's it. As simple as that. Now,
Okay.
now the computer. Sorry, Beena, one moment. The computer doesn't get to say what the update is. We do. Before we take that update, of course, the programmer who's sending you that update, if they're impeccable, they're going to be very thorough and scrupulous and diligent in checking it out, in testing it, improving it. And before they send it out as an update, right, they're going to really be, wow, that's what we do with our impeccability. We check it out thoroughly, we test it, we think it through to the end, we do everything we can. We prod it and push it, and okay, all right, good. Now I've tested it, I've self-proven it. Okay, now I apply it as an update. There you go, right? Again, receptivity. We first check it out. We first see that it makes sense. Then we let it influence us, let it affect us, take it as our own. Right. Yes, Beena?
Oh, no, I was just saying that, Robin, I have sent you a few pictures of my neurocreative drawing. This is what we were discussing about.
Wow. Wow.
On your messenger. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
And we are going to use this because there's a
Yes.
specific logic to it. And we'll explain when we do it.
mhm.
We're going to use it to visually represent our dictionary of power or concepts.
Yes.
We are going to combine language and creativity to merge the two. And this is a mechanism of training the brain. So this is going to be very cool to do.
It's funny you say that. So, Sue, I wanted to do a little something for Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
And I had written something, and I want to figure out, I was playing around with it. So it just goes along with what you're saying. I had wrote an infinity sign,
Mm-hmm.
and to write it along the infinity sign, so this way it all connects.
Cool. Oh,
So,
very cool.
just when you're mentioning about how it all connects,
That's cool.
that was already coming in my head on how
Nice.
everything connects.
Yeah.
Nice,
Oh,
nice.
excellent. Excellent.
Nice.
Did you speak to her? I spoke to her yesterday in length.
I spoke to her before I had talked to you, and then I had called you, and then you said that she got in touch with you. So yay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Right.
good.
fabulous.
Very heartwarming your support of Amanda. It's fantastic. Both of you. Very cool. Nice.
Yeah, she's a kind of a big deal
Talking
in the,
about support
in the
and
community.
how people are
She's
doing.
pretty well
Yeah.
known.
Say again, Ruth, Sue, sorry.
She's pretty well known in the community. She's a pretty big deal. She's
good.
just has a very big heart and always has been that way.
I figured as much, which is the support. Yeah, good. Talking about that just real quick on a housekeeping point. How's Rick doing?
Good. Yeah. Today I'm actually sending him a message to check in for the new year and see how he's doing. But
Okay. Good.
yeah.
All is
Well, Yeah, I'd like to know. And also the donor. Yeah, I don't want to forget the donor in this. She's an integral part. Right? It's easy to think it was all about Rick, but no, about the
Yeah.
donor too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
we
of-
weren't as intimately connected to the donor, but still. Go ahead, Beena.
No, but we set an intent for both donor and the recipient. So
Correct.
that's why
Correct.
it's impeccable too.
Right.
No.
So I follow up because I want to see that my intent, how it's resulted. If my intent has been fulfilled or not, either way, if there's some resolution, I can say, thank you, I'm done with this intent now, I can move on. Energy management, right? I don't want to leave it open forever. Yes, I have the intent for it all to turn out good for Rick and the donor. That's it. Cool. It's done. Thank you. Right. And also, when you follow up on your intents, you reaffirm to yourself that
Yes.
you can set intents, that your intents can materialize, and therefore you can do it now and you can do it in the future. So you build confidence in your ability to intend. It's a mechanism of self-proof, in other words, to follow up on your intent.
Yep.
Right?
This is just amazing.
Now, when we think about things impeccably, it is amazing.
And this all started because of receptivity. Yes, we're going over the dictionary of power, but it all surrounded, it's fabulous.
Right. It's actually all around the dictionary of power.
Yeah, no, yes,
That's
but
our
as
center
soon as,
column. Yeah.
but as soon as we hit on that one, it was,
Right. Because we were going into detail about the dictionary of power, it led to receptivity being introduced because we were talking about it yesterday, right? And also love. So it all follows. That's what we do. It's connected. Maintain the connectivity. The original center column, the point was dictionary of power. We knew what we were doing. Because we know what we were doing, we're focused. More came, more came, more came. That's how the mechanism works. It's how the brain works. So dictionary of power led to receptivity. The receptivity then blossomed out into more. We brought it back again, like the mind map. It goes sideways, but it connects on the other side back again, right? Goes out to the sides, comes back down to the point at the bottom. This is what we want to practice doing, that we don't get lost in those diversions. We always bring it back again so that we can use it. Very important to make sure it's useful. Know what you're doing. When you know what you're doing, everything is very clear. Right. Uh-huh. Very cool.
well, if you want, I'll just finish up my list here of what
Sure,
I had.
Please.
And I-
Not if I want. It's
And
absolutely I want.
here's what's interesting is that you had brought up about awareness of myself and then to switch that to self-awareness, and I wrote aware of my connection, and after you had said that I switched it up to self-connection.
Nice.
So
Nice. Now, self connection. That's a very potent, powerful power term. And I haven't actually heard anyone else use it before. Self dash capital C connection. Yes?
yes.
Very
Yes.
potent term. Self connectivity. Need to make it into the noun. Right? Self connectivity. What a potent term. Because if we now take self connectivity and through receptivity to moreness, make it as an individual project. In other words, self connectivity is the personal application of receptivity to moreness. Yeah. Donna might say it as remembering our divine self. Remembering. It's very important to use that, right?
Repeat yourself what you said before.
About self connectivity and receptivity.
Yes, yes.
Self connectivity in this context is the personal application of our receptivity to our own moreness.
Yeah. Yes, in this context, yes.
Fabulous. fabulous stuff.
And then it just went on to universal energy equals awareness, trust, impeccable intentions, patience, belief not required,
Impeccable what?
impeccable intentions,
Impeccable what?
intent.
Thank you. We need to get.
Yeah,
but
no,
Amy,
I
when
get it.
comes
I
to our
get it.
language, yeah, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Patience, belief not required, test drive.
Mm, mm. Oh, that belief not required.
Yes.
It's rule 0 of the rules of sentience. Belief not required. Massively potent. Massively potent. When we unhook from the strictures and the limitations and the inhibitions of belief, that's when we open up. That's when we open up our world to moreness. We want to go beyond belief.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Test drive, life view perspective, intent perspective, responsibility, trust application, responsibility for my choices, best use of energy, I create space, more energy equals more happiness, attunement, alignment. We had talked about this the other day, put attention, and that's where the seed will grow. Follow through, best use of energy, slow down, awareness of more, self-understanding. And that's where I had gotten to.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Fabulous. Now, like I said, we'll go over them again and put them all into that noun, that usable format, and then also go into the extended understandings. And this is a fun, fabulous project because it's exactly what we did to receptivity. We exploded it. We got all of the pyramid underneath that capstone, which is receptivity. And we're going to do this for every single entry. And then also we are going to start seeing how it connects. Right? They're all connected.
Robin, not today, but in our next session, you have an entry in your dictionary of power, is.
Yes.
And this is really interesting.
Business.
Yeah, no, it is not isness, it is just is. So this is something interesting. And I just want you to elaborate more in the next session. What is you?
What is to you.
Yes, what is to you?
Okay. I
Yeah.
can do that. I will sit with that and do like receptivity and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you said it several times, best use of energy. That actual term came up several times. What is, when you're using your best use of energy, what are you doing at that point? What are you being?
that was funny because that was the first word that came to mind was being. I am being.
Mhm.
I and Beena is best use of my energy
Mhm.
is.
Impeccability.
Impeccable.
Yes. And it's funny because now impeccability, because it's becoming so innate, it's innate,
Yes.
but so it's really interesting is the more I'm using and feeling, and that's probably the word I would say is feeling with best use of energy, it is becoming more it's becoming very physical as well, because I'm able to
Yes.
it's not only out here, it's mind, body, spirit. It's really starting to incorporate all.
Exactly.
Awesome.
You remember in the beginning, we said if you don't feel everything, it's all meaningless, right?
Mhm.
You've got to
Yes.
feel the world. You got to feel it to make sense of it. This is why. And we said particularly one of our objectives is to feel what we are, to take our understanding and translate it into feeling. You can understand all day, all you like. If it doesn't result in a positive feeling, what's the point?
Yes.
Right?
And
Our
and that
ultimate
feeling is
accomplishment is
neutral.
joy,
Mhm.
It's a neutral.
sobriety.
Best
Yes,
Okay, yes. So
that's the
best
feeling
use of
you're talking
energy is
about now.
sobriety, neutralness.
Right, right, right. And from there, we can choose to go into joy if we want to. We can take joy in our sobriety. We can take joy in our impeccability, right? But sobriety on its own, we don't have to choose joy. Sobriety in itself is a feeling that has so much power and magic and more and awesome to it. That it's just a different form of joy. That's all.
Mhm.
It depends how you define joy. Sobriety is a particular way to define joy. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Right. And that neutrality is that neutrality of receptivity. It's not a true neutrality, neither is sobriety. They are positive biased, slightly. Both receptivity and sobriety have a positive bias to them. Because inherently they are massively positive conceptions, doings, applications, both sobriety and joy. And that makes them positive. We get value and usefulness out of them, makes it positive. Even though we have a neutral bias, a neutral stance, but twinge to the positive. Because we're leveraging that positive to get us into more. If you are truly neutral, you're not going anywhere. The moment you add a bit of positivity to neutral, it's like if you are floating in space and you're a spaceship and you're just sitting there, right? We're not going anywhere. What makes you decide to go anywhere? Positivity. There's a
So,
reason to do so.
you know, to expand for me, neutrality, being, is, I am, just be, as I am.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. And
And then I
also
can
to
go
be
into
aware. Oh,
aware.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, because
To be
then,
aware that when you say as I am, this is not a static understanding. What I am, my isness is not static. My isness is process. I'm continually in the process of this journey into moreness, right? So even though I say my isness, it not doesn't mean by implication that I'm static, that I'm closed, that I'm not changing, not adapting, and not connecting to moreness, not being appropriate. Appropriateness is always in a relationship and interactivity, right? So always there's some movement going on. So isness by definition has movement associated to it. So when I say I am, I mean I am process or I am practice, you could say as well. Same thing. Huh?
yeah, I like that. Aware of continuity into moreness.
Right. In other words, I am enough and I am
Yeah.
also more.
Mhm.
Yes.
They coexist. So when I say I am doesn't I'm enough, but I'm also more, which means I'm contained, but I'm also open and receptive to moreness. I'm on a path to moreness. It's all the same thing, right? I'm that spaceship in space, but I'm moving. I'm not just stationary. But the spaceship is self-contained, right?
Oh,
Mhm.
you just brought me back to my dream by saying that.
Well, let's hear the dream.
No, that one that I had shared with you when you just mentioned about the spaceship, it was just there. And when I looked out, there was the more.
Yeah, excellent. Exactly. Very cool.
All
Look at
right.
that.
Well, you know what? With where we're at, the kids are starting to come down and stare at mom. So
No problem.
it's
Time.
almost like, okay. So if
Time
you
to get
don't
lost.
mind.
Do your own thing. Be independent. Don't be relying on me.
Yeah.
I don't know if kids.
And now the dogs are coming. So, all right. I think
No
this is an
problem. Good time.
appropriate
Good.
time to move on.
Yes. Yes.
And I will continue on over the weekend.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
thank you very much, everyone. And I will see you on Monday.
You will.
Absolute
Okay.
pleasure.
Have a good
Absolute
one.
pleasure.
You too. Bye.
Okay.
Bye bye,
Bye-bye.
Robin. Bye bye.
Jeez.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
That was